a gentleman's apology, would have been one heck of a good start.
A scuffle on the House floor is leading to an all-out investigation, why some lawmakers say it went too far.
Plus, new bills are making their way through the State House, where things stand halfway through session.
But first, we begin with some big news for the capital city. Topeka Mayor Mike Padilla announcing he won't seek re-election. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung.
And I'm Rob Hughes. Glad you're here. Well, the mayor's decision comes amid a hiring freeze, a budget deficit, and the ongoing search to find a buyer for Hotel Topeka.
Now, the city's invested millions of dollars trying to revitalize the hotel, but it's going to take some time. I sat down with the mayor one-on-one to talk about that and more. So, Mayor Padilla, I first wanted to start by asking, why are you not seeking re-election?
Oh, that's a big question. A lot of people have been asking me that ever since I made my announcement. I kept it pretty quiet, really between my wife and I, basically. I did share it with the city attorney and the city manager before I became public. There are a lot of things that go into making that decision. It was not an easy decision for me because I've been in public service just about my entire working life, and so I enjoy it. And it's difficult to say, okay, I get to be involved in an awful lot, and then at the end of the year, that'll be cut back substantially. But I think it's important for me to take into consideration the time it takes to do the job, to do it well, and what time it takes from my family to, be very flexible with their schedules and trying to work through all the things that I have to be at. And since it's been like, I think I've been working since I was 16 years old. And so it's time to really retire. This will be about my third or fourth retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've been serving as mayor for about 3 years now. So what do you think your top 5 accomplishments are?
I knew you were going to ask a question like that. and I'm not ready to talk about those things like that because I never have been one to make a list of my accomplishments. Even when I was on the council, my accomplishments I like to keep to myself and to those people who I have worked with, because an accomplishment in my eye may not be the same thing in the public eye or in anybody's eye for that matter. But I think the one thing that I'm most happy about and proudest about is that I've really developed some good relationships, not just with the governing body members, but with an awful lot of the social service workers and organizations and the business community. That's something that I think for quite a while wasn't as clear and wasn't a big priority of keeping relationships on an ongoing basis, whether you agree or disagree. That's the one thing that I've really focused on. I know one of the things that I really have always tried to bring to any job that I took was to be a facilitator, to make people understand that there are ways to get to where they want to go. It may not be the direct route that they would like to go, but if you connect people with each other and listen to each other's ideas, then you can get to where you want to be. And that's where I feel I have been most successful in my field.
Okay. I know there was some stories that made national headlines while you were in office. One initiative to bring immigrants to Topeka so that they were able to have more opportunities here. It stirred some waves, though. There were some people that questioned that decision. Could you tell me a little bit about where the program stands now and what you're hoping it accomplishes in the years to come?
Yeah, well, it's been a good effort, and I think what happens is somebody takes the narrative and takes it in their direction that they want to hear. And I didn't say immigrants, I said qualified people to come here and work. A lot of people took that to mean anybody and everybody can show up and made a lot of erroneous assumptions. Everybody that we have received here in Topeka have been qualified to work in the country. They've been skilled. It's not just anybody show up and give me what job you have available. We really had focused on a lot of those skilled jobs that we have had some hard time as a city filling. And even at city staff, there are some positions that are still open that it's hard to recruit from. And when you have an immigrant community that comes in, some of them who have been doctors, physicians, engineers in other countries, but Now that they're here, they're not in that system. That's really what we were trying to promote and bring to Topeka. You stop and think, why wouldn't a city, any city, want to attract qualified people to their community? That's what it was, but it comes at a time when everybody wants to make their own narrative about immigration.
Another big push from the city while you were in office, Hotel Topeka, to revitalize Hotel Topeka. Do you see it getting sold before you leave office, or when do you think it would be sold?
I'm hopeful, Rebecca, that it'll be sold. I was really pushing to see it sold in this first quarter of 2025. I think it'll squeak in. It might maybe be a month into the second quarter, but no, we have some very good offers on the table. It's a matter of making sure we go through it back and forth in negotiations to make sure that the city is getting the best deal for the property. And so we kept very close interest to those other parties who were thinking about bidding and did in fact bid on that hotel. And we knew quite a bit about some of them. And it was in the best interest for us to protect that property. It was hoped that we could have gotten the assistance with the Shawnee County delegation, with the Shawnee County Commission, but they chose to wait at a different time. I know they're still interested in working with the city as they look at the viability and the possibilities of having Maynard Convention Center, Conference Center, work closely with the new owner of the hotel, because here's what I'd rather have. I'd rather have people question, why are we doing this? I've heard people say, I'll never stay in that hotel. Well, you probably not, because you have a home here, and that's not what it's there for. It's there to attract visitors when they have conventions, and it's supposed to be a destination center. A destination center brings an awful lot of revenue to the city of Topeka. An empty building doesn't.
Okay, and the city bought the hotel for $8 million, right?
It's just short of that, $7 million.
Okay, but
$7 million plus.
Since October of 2024, the city has approved to invest $7 million more into that hotel. So do you think that return will come eventually, or what are you thinking how that will pan out?
Yeah, I'm positive it will, and that's part of the dealings when you're working with a developer who is going to purchase it. You know, you can't expect that automatically they'll say, okay, you paid X amount, you're going to get this amount. I think what we're looking at is a good offer and then an agreement on how over the years, as it continues to operate in the black and makes good revenue for the city, that we'll get that money incrementally back into the city. At the same time, having a benefit from an increased sales tax that we will get from the conventioners that come back to Topeka.
We're hearing more from Mayor Mike Padilla when we come back.
Yeah, stay with us. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Tonight.
And the Oscar
goes to? It's the Oscars, live on ABC and Hulu, with performances by Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo, Doja Cat, Lisa, and many more. Plus, a must-see opening show moment you can't miss. Hosted by the legendary Conan O'Brien.
The stars, the glamour, and me.
The Oscars, tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, live on ABC and Hulu.
Today, get hyped for the season finale of CW Women's Hoops.
Wow!
First, Virginia aims for the upset against number 8 North Carolina. Then, Georgia Tech looks to hold off Stanford. CW Women's Hoops, today, live at 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific.
You've been dying to go one-on-one with me, so let's get it on.
One of us needs to push him into a corner, and the other one needs to show him the way out.
Good cop, bad cop?
No.
Call it that, or I'm not doing it.
Suits LA, new tonight on NBC and Peacock.
What percentage of this club is actual, like, gardening? Most of it.
Grosse Pointe Garden Society, tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. We are continuing our conversation with Topeka Mayor Mike Padilla, who will not be running again after 3 years in office.
The city currently on a hiring freeze. I asked Padilla about how that could impact recruitment efforts for agencies that are struggling and what could have led to that issue we're seeing now. Speaking of the increased sales tax, what are your thoughts on that?
It was an idea that had been proposed, and that didn't happen because we listened very clearly to the constituents who came and spoke, and others who contacted us through email or phone calls, and we listened to the governing body as a whole. We know that eventually every city in the country is going to have to face this challenge. How are they going to keep up with inflation? How are they going to continue to give the resources and the services that a city is supposed to do, core services? And it's important for us to understand that you have to prepare for it. So that was an offer that came up as or a thought, as an idea or an option. But what we've done is I've sat down with the city manager, who's really good at finances. He's really, that's kind of the thing he lives in. And he and the governing body are taking the time to go through that budget of ours, line by line, scrub by scrub, to find those efficiencies that will help us reduce our budget, that we may mitigate the loss of revenue that everyone is experiencing, including Topeka. And so before we take another step in the idea or the direction of proposing a sales tax, we really want to make sure that the public understands all the work that's gone into trying to avoid that by looking at other opportunities. There's some reorganization ideas that they're coming about, which may make it possible for us to continue the level of services to the community, but not increasing our employee numbers. And that's always the biggest cost, employees cost. So if we use them in a more efficient way and find that we don't have to add any more FTEs, full-time employees, but that we can get more productivity out of the employees that we have. That's really what we try to do.
Okay. I know the past city manager, he proposed more than 24 new jobs that were very high-paying positions. Do you think that that contributed to what we're seeing now, where the city is currently in a budget deficit, we have this hiring freeze now, and we have to put a pause on hiring new employees?
Well, I don't want to second guess the city manager. I served with him while he was here for a while. I do think that his plan for staffing at the city was very aggressive and maybe not well planned out. And I think that helped us get into a position where we had more maybe employees than were necessary. But I don't think that's the overall cause for our budget deficit. That's something that doesn't just happen overnight or just in one administration. That comes as an accumulation over the years of our costs going up to do business as a city of Topeka. And I think I'm very positive about what our outlook is. I know that we'll go into 2026 with an opportunity to still do more to reduce our costs as a city. But the focus that I really want to make sure that we continue to do is that we don't reduce our services. That's the thing that people sometimes lose track of. Well, we want to cut this, we want to cut that. Okay, but when you turn on the faucet, you want the water to come out, right? When you have a fire, you want the firemen to show up. When you drive down the road, you want the potholes to be filled. All of that takes money. And so those are things that we can't just walk away from and say, okay, we'll have 2 fire trucks for the whole city of Topeka. That's not going to work. You know, and so those are the things that I think over the years, if you don't anticipate that inflation, and for a country even right now, a lot of us are feeling a rate of inflation that none of us anticipated.
Okay. So the sales tax, though, that increase, an idea, right? That they're currently looking at. Okay, and eventually it may have to happen, is what you're saying.
It may.
Where do you see Topeka in the next 10 years?
Oh, I think we're in a good position. I think we did a good job getting through COVID. There are other cities who really had much more loss of business and economy during the COVID situation. What really was something that I was proud of, and it's had nothing to do with me. But during that time, there was a private businessman here in Topeka who put together a coalition to garner funds to help other businessmen who were trying to keep their employees in place and pay them. And they built a fund amongst themselves to distribute amongst these other businesses so they could keep Mike Padilla, Rebecca Chung in business, so they wouldn't lose their jobs, so they could still meet their obligations as a resident of Topeka. That's something that you don't see across the country. You don't see that everywhere. That's particular and I think unique to Topeka because it's a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows somebody, right? You can't turn around and throw a rock without hitting a relative or somebody that you know. But I think that's the thing where we'll keep Topeka going this way. If you stop and think that the words that I hear from businessmen is we feel a vitality, an excitement, and an energy that we haven't felt before. And you see different things going up. There are projects that are in the discussions right now beyond, say, Topeka Hotel, that I think people will really be pleased when they come out into public about, well, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think that was going to happen. Even the little things, like getting a Whataburger on Topeka Boulevard. So if we continue to attract those businesses coming to Topeka and take care of our in-house small businesses, that's key. So I see Topeka really, I've said for the last 3 years, Topeka's on this edge. It's just ready to jump up. And that's what we have to do. We need to punch above where we are right now.
When we come back, we have State House correspondent for the Associated Press, John Hanna, joining us. We're breaking down the bills and the heated debates from this week.
Plus, tensions are rising over a scuffle between two lawmakers in the House. Up next, an update on how it's all unfolding. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
At Noller, we get a lot of questions about all of our Ford products, but none more than this Bronco Raptor. This Bronco Raptor is equipped with a 3.0 twin-turbo, 418 horsepower, 440 pounds of torque. This baby moves. This vehicle is equipped with 4 different drive select modes, including GOAT mode, which gets you over any type of terrain. This Bronco Raptor has 37-inch wheels, which help create this 13.1-inch ground clearance. And the best part about these Broncos are whether you're trudging through the mud in the rain with the tops on or enjoying a nice cruise down the boulevard with the tops off, they have the versatility to suit any of your needs. When you're out boulder crawling, cruising the highway, or sand duning, the Ford Bronco Raptor is fitted with available technology to keep you connected and entertained. So, for everybody looking for a new vehicle, from EVs to Super Duties, come down to Noller and let us get you taken care of.
Today, get hyped for the season finale of CW Women's Hoops. Wow! First, Virginia aims for the upset against number 8 North Carolina. Then, Georgia Tech looks to hold off Stanford. CW Women's Hoops, today, live at 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific.
Dying to go one-on-one with me, so let's get it on.
One of us needs to push him into a corner, and the other one needs to show him the way out.
Good cop, bad cop?
No.
Call it that, or I'm not doing it.
Suits LA, new tonight on NBC and Peacock.
What percentage of this club is actual, gardening? Most of it.
Grosse Pointe Garden Society, tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Welcome back. A scuffle on the House floor last week isn't over. Democratic Representative Ford Carr from Wichita has filed a formal complaint against Republican Wichita Representative Nick Hoheisel.
And that scuffle itself, it didn't last long, but it did spark some tensions on the debate floor. It's now leading to an investigation. Now, Rep. Hoheisel says he's not commenting at this time, but I did speak with Representative Carr, who's frustrated by the situation.
Just an embarrassment.
You can't see it in this video from the House floor this month, but it's when Representative Ford Carr says Representative Nick Hoheisel approached him, shouted obscenities, and threatened him.
It was unequivocally a threat. You know, anytime you tell somebody, don't you ever, that's a threat.
Carr believes the Republican supermajority and volatile political environment could have led to the outburst.
It's a behavior, I'm afraid, that appears to have escalated, you know, from certain members of, unfortunately, the Republican side of our body.
That incident led to a point of order, and the entire chamber took an hours-long break.
I called the point of order because there was a need for decorum.
Personally, that there be some, you know, admonishment of his behavior.
Carr made a report with Capitol Police.
A gentleman's apology, you know, would have been one heck of a good start.
He also filed a formal complaint.
If the shoe were on the other foot, you know, how would it then fit?
Carr says there's very little Democrats can do from a voting perspective, and even believes Democrats are being taken advantage of.
We can bond together and we can fight.
And now it appears Speaker Dan Hawkins forming a committee to look into this situation and investigate it formally.
Yeah, I want to bring in State House correspondent for the Associated Press, John Hanna. John, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Now, glad to be here.
What is your take on all this, John, and where do things stand right now? What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, right now, the committee had its first organizational meeting on Friday, so they're going to keep meeting and presumably call witnesses and get statements and talk to people. It's an open question whether the investigation will expand into taking a look at what prompted Nick Hoheisel's, I don't know what words you want to use, confrontation, set to anything at the desk, what he was reacting to during a debate. It goes back the day before when Representative Carr was asking a question to a lawmaker who's not involved in it, and that lawmaker wouldn't answer a question. The next day, they're talking about another bill, and a Republican is explaining it does answer a question, and then Representative Carr made a remark. I don't know, I guess I can say this. The gist of the remark was, well, I'm glad that not all Republicans are so racist that they won't answer my questions. Now, that's quite a stark statement, and of course, Republicans objected to it. And so we will see where this investigation goes. In theory, the House has the power to admonish, censor, or expel a member. I'm not aware of any case, I haven't come across one, I can't say there wasn't one in like 1875, but I don't know of a case where a House member has been permanently expelled. I think in the 1950s there was a situation where a member was expelled for like an hour or two until he apologized for something. But so this is going to be a very interesting case. The thing that's interesting about this is that it exposes the tensions between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats are feeling pretty frustrated because they lost seats and they're in a minority, a small minority. But this has also exposed some tensions among Democrats. And it's kind of part of that larger discussion Democrats are having right now, how to respond to President Trump and Republicans in Washington. And Ford Carr has criticized his own leaders for not being aggressive enough in metaphorically pushing back against Republicans, and all of that is out there. But there's also a sense that politics everywhere is just more contentious than it was even, 10 years ago.
Okay, and John, really quick, we just want to touch on two bills that came up at the State House this
Sure.
week that are, causing a little bit of controversy. We have one that's the election bill. Let's start with that. It would get rid of the 3-day grace period. The deadline for mail-in ballots would be 7 p.m. on Election Day. What are your thoughts on that bill making it out this session? Do you think it is likely to make it out?
It is likely to pass. The question is whether Republicans have enough votes to override a veto. They clearly do in the Senate because it passed with 29 votes. They need 27. The House, it's a little less certain. Looking at the vote, there were, I think, 6 members absent, so it's possible. Republicans have been after this for, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. The argument is Election Day should be Election Day, and then we had these issues with the post office ballots arriving late after the primary, not being postmarked. And so the thought is some of those problems go, you don't need to worry about a postmark if everything has to be in on Election Day. Voting rights advocates think it will will cause some people not to have their votes counted.
Okay.
And in the Senate, John, I want to talk about the Republicans looking at the bill to change how the Supreme Court justices are selected. Now, we know they're trying to make the Kansas Supreme Court an elected office.
Yes.
Now, John, it'd be a ballot question, right, for people to vote on whether to make that happen. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Kansas has had the system it's had where you have a nominating commission led, some would say controlled by lawyers, making 3 nominations the governor picks. There's no role for the legislature. Republican legislators have felt for at least 20 years that the court is too liberal. That's what this is about. The abortion rights decision, the school funding decisions, some death penalty cases over the last 20 years. So their thinking is that they will get a more conservative court if they change the selection method. The question is whether the big sponsor in the Senate, Ty Masterson, the Senate president, thinks it has a 2/3 majority to clear there. You need 2/3. The House, they want to do something. They seem a little less enthusiastic. In the past, the proposal has always been Senate confirmation, sort of like the federal model. And Ty Masterson told me that one reason they're trying this is they think voters will be far more excited about having the chance to elect someone. Now, of course, critics of all this say the system has served Kansas well, and there's sort of this new argument that Masterson made that the system is elitist, and that's kind of an interesting populist, you don't have to trust the experts, we should trust the voters argument. So it will be interesting to see if there's a split in the House, if the House latches onto this proposal.
All right, John, thank you so much. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You've been dying to go one-on-one with me, so let's get it on.
One of us needs to push him into a corner, and the other one needs to show him the way out.
Good cop, bad cop?
No.
Call it that, or I'm not doing it.
Suits LA, new tonight on NBC and Peacock.
What percentage of this club is actual, like, gardening? Most of it.
Grosse Pointe Garden Society, tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Can I get a Kelly in here?
Oh, yes, you can.
It's Kelly Clarkson, y'all! Every day on Kelly.
Yeah, I'm here.
Feel the love. So friggin' excited. I was gonna keep it chill, but if I had this job, I would never keep it chill. Everything you want, it's all right here. I love this crowd!
Y'all, this is an all-new Kelly.
All new weekdays.
Weekdays at 3 on 27 KSNT.
TV's #1 entertainment talk show is doing big numbers. Over 1,500 costumes, more than 100 stumps.
Guess what, Mark? You are so wrong.
300+ stars a year.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
And 15 Emmys.
It's actually 16, humbly.
Respectfully.
Count on Live to make your morning shine.
Weekdays at 11 on 27 KSNT.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Finally, we're breaking down what to keep an eye on this week at the State House.
John Hanna weighing in. And John, what's one thing that we should keep an eye on this week?
Well, we should keep an eye on whether that judicial selection proposal comes up in the Senate. And the Senate is also, we should be keeping an eye on what they do with the budget. And I know this is three things, but also taxes, because the property tax debate is getting more complicated.
All right, John, thank you so much. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you right here next Sunday on 27 KSNT at 10:30 a.m.
And have a wonderful day.